What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Real Bodybuilding Podcast. This is episode 140, and I am here with Mr. Joe Freak of Freaks Mackey. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you?
What's your nickname? Do you have a nickname, or did I just give you that nickname?
I mean, back in the day, man, people used to call me like Mac Attack and stuff like that. But,
that's a good one.
Yeah, but now it's just Big Joe. And
well,
I got to hear it all the time from my mom because she's like, oh, I didn't name you Joe. I named you Joseph. But anyway, everyone just calls me Big Joe.
Yeah, the bodybuilders usually get Big Joe or Big whatever it is, whatever the name is. I'm going to show everybody why, and one of the main reasons I want to get you on the podcast, I want to show everybody why I called you the Freak of Freaks. For those people who don't follow Joe Mackey on Instagram, and for those listening, it's J Mackey, it's JMACKEY 33 _ IFBB Pro. So looking at your Instagram, this thing went viral, not this particular video, but one of these.
Yep.
How much is this? Is 885?
Yeah, it's 885 right there.
Dude, this is crazy. Like,
yeah. So
I have a host of questions.
Yep.
It looks okay. First of all, that looked easy.
Yeah, it wasn't easy, man, but it's like there's definitely some more room in the tank, and I'll stop there because I know you're gonna ask me some more. But yeah, there's definitely more room in the tank.
What's the high? Is this the highest you've gone?
That's the highest I've gone, and we're going for actually tomorrow. Coach sent me my plan. We're doing 830 for 2 reps.
Okay.
I work with Jailhouse Strong, so he's been doing all my programs, Josh Bryant, and that guy has, it's for one, it's been a lot of fun, and two, I'm kind of doing this in the middle of somewhat starting a prep right now.
Yeah.
For the Texas Pro, which is August.
Okay.
And so the only power training that I'm doing is for back day, and that's on Fridays. So we're actually doing 830 for 2 reps tomorrow, and then the goal for 900 is to do that. I believe he's going to send me that goal for 900 the next following week.
So is that your ultimate goal, is 900, or are you going to keep going after you hit 900? Are you going to go past that?
That was the ultimate goal when I started. I mean, and I remember when I first started with him, like 800 was a struggle.
Yeah. And,
he told me just straight up and why, I mean, I get so many questions like, oh, why are you doing this? And it's like, why?
That's my question.
And it's just like, man, I relate it to like so many different things. It's like, I mean, for example, you're a car guy. I'm a car guy, right? Yeah. So it's like, we get a car that has 500 horsepower and it's like, I want 1,000. And
yeah,
like why? And it's like,
but that's different, and I'll tell you why.
Okay,
you're a professional bodybuilder. Here, let me show people some more of your physique, just so in case they don't know you. So Joe is a professional bodybuilder with a great physique, and the reason people I think would ask you that is they're basically saying, why would you risk it? Because you have such a good physique and so much promise. Why would you risk the injury or anything like that?
Right.
So I just and that's kind of look, I get it from both perspectives because I'm a bodybuilder too. So I understand that mentality of just wanting to get the most out of your body that you possibly can.
Right.
But I also understand it from people who aren't in the sport when they watch and they go, well, what about your career? Are you worried you're going to hurt yourself? Blah, blah, blah. So what do you say to that?
And I try to be very careful with how I say that because it's so whenever I deadlift 800 for the first time, it was like extremely heavy.
Yeah.
And since I've been working with Josh and we critique like form and just like specific things like keeping a bar close to your legs and knowing how to lift the whole nine. And another thing we talked about as well too is I use straps. I don't go over and under.
Yeah.
When you do an over and under grip, it is a higher risk for injury, like, tearing a bicep or, something like that in that nature. So I do both hands over and I use straps. And I remember at one point I was going to do a meet in my off season, but of course they didn't allow straps. And, I haven't done this type of weight without straps. And I haven't, I used to deadlift with over under grip, but I haven't done that in like years. And, I remember talking to Josh about it. He's like, no, you're a bodybuilder first. We're kind of doing this for, fun, whole nine, or just a PR goal, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And the risk for injury, obviously that's a shitload of weight. I get it. So anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one, wrong tweak. I mean, I remember one time I hurt in my disc doing 225 bent over rows. Yeah. So yes, you know, something can happen.
Anything can happen.
Yeah, any given moment. But the risk for injury in regards to doing an overgrip with straps, you know, like I said, I'm not doing meets or nothing like that, is a lot less. But obviously, like I said, with the weight we're talking about. So am I worried about injury? Not necessarily, because it's like, you know, I've enjoyed lifting heavy like since I was in high school.
Yeah.
And it went on through college, and, you know, even before I started bodybuilding, I was like, I just enjoyed being that big, strong guy going to the gym and, you know, benching heavy, squatting heavy, leg pressing heavy, deadlifting the whole nine. So it's not like I'm new to like lifting heavy. Like I remember doing, I don't know, I think I did 765 deadlift like when I was in college, but that was just off of just picking weight up and putting it down, not knowing anything about form or nothing like that. So it's just something I've always enjoyed. So am I worried about the risk of injury? I'm going to say no, because it's like, I still haven't picked up a weight yet to where I was like, holy shit, that shit was fucking heavy. Like, I better stop now.
Yeah.
Because,
but what's to say, like with the bodybuilder mentality that we have, what's to say when you get to 900, you're not going to be like, 1,000 looks good. Maybe I'll get to 1,000.
You know what? I've had that talk with some people that are close to me, and they've already told me, like, you're not going to stop at 900. Like,
I don't think you will either. Why would you?
Yeah, we know you. Yeah. But, you know, it's, I told myself 900 is a goal. And, you know, I'm saying that because, of course, now I need to start doing some more fundamental training in regards to getting ready for prep, of course. And no doubt about it, man. It's like, I remember going to the gym probably about a couple months ago, just walking in, and Johnny was there. Johnny Jackson was there.
Yeah.
And he walked in, and, you know, Johnny and, you know, Branch, you know, those guys are kind of straight shooters. And I just walked in, shook his hand, said, what's up? And, you know, he looked at me, he's like, God damn, man, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you eating? And I was just like, dude, just, you know, I'm just eating. So what I've noticed is like the tissue comes on without you even, and you notice as well too, like back in your prime, you lifted heavy, you went, you know, you went balls out and stuff like that, of course. And it's like, you notice, like, people notice things before you even notice it. And sometimes you don't even notice it until you start taking pictures, or you kind of see yourself from a distance in a video or a picture or something like that. You kind of look at it like, God damn, man, like, what the fuck is that? So, so I'm doing these deadlifts. Like I said, I'm doing these PRs pretty much. It's like every other week or every 2 weeks or whatever the case is, but I'm still eating like a bodybuilder. 7 days a week. I'm still doing my cardio. You know, I'm still training every other body part besides back, you know, high volume, heavy weights and stuff like that. So this back day with these PRs and stuff like that, I know for a fact that I'm going to stop at 900 because I need to start putting more emphasis on higher volume back training. And because whenever I go in and do these deadlifts for PRs, you know, I'll do deadlifts, I'll do that PR, and honestly, I probably have something else on the workout to do, like some lighter deadlifts and stuff like that. But after I do the PR, man, I'm toast. I'm done. And that's all I'm doing for that day, for back day. So I know for a fact that, I mean, one of the body parts they bring up is my back. So
I was just going to ask you that. Is that your main focus?
Yeah, and it's not even, I wouldn't say size, but you know, from what I've understood, is just detail. So definitely need to start incorporating a lot more different type of workouts, you know. And like I said, and that's what I said, 900, once I hit 900, then it's kind of time to start focusing on more detail and, you know, going into some different style of training. So, yeah.
I mean, your physique is there. Everything is there. Like, everything looks put together. So let's go back a bit. So let me ask you this. Did you start deadlifting because, was it because you wanted to put more size on your back, or was it just for fun and then it turned into this whole thing? Like, where did it stem from?
It was just for fun. And, you know, when I started with Josh, you know, when I did that 800, I had to start working with him at that point. I think that's when I had signed with Animal at that point, and we did that video, and I went in there for that deadlift, and I didn't even plan on deadlifting that day. And I was just doing some stuff just for, you know, cool pictures. But
fooling around, deadlifting 800 pounds. What the fuck?
It just worked up to 800, and it you know, and it made a good video for you know, the announcement when I signed with them. But then after that, you know, it was suggested that I, you know, talk to Josh, and I talked to Josh, and And, you know, we just talked about a couple of different things, not in regards to competing or doing any type of powerlifting shows or anything like that. But, you know, he told me just straight up, he's like, man, like for you, dude, like sky's the limit. Like you're doing 800 pounds, like your form is kind of off and stuff like that. Like you can take this as far as you want to take it. And I made a personal goal at that point. I was like, dude, I really want to hit 900 pounds. And
so go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And once I told him that, he was like, dude, it's there. Like it's done. Like we'll get you there. And so, and honestly speaking, you know, I see these posts sometimes. This is why you're doing this, why you're doing it. And I really just want to say because I fucking want to.
That's right.
But yeah, you know, but at the end of the day, if it's like, if people are looking like for a real reason on why, it's honestly just because I made a personal PR goal. You know, I didn't do this to beat any records. I didn't do this to compare myself to, you know, it's nothing I hear, oh, like, oh, he's still not running. I never said I was running. I'm not one time going to say that.
You know, I gotta say this because I hear this a lot because of various people that I interview, and there's always every single one of us, almost every single one of us has something. Like Iain does really heavy deadlifts.
Yeah.
You know, James does super heavy squats. I signed a young athlete, Brandon Bell, who squats and deadlifts like crazy weight, bench presses crazy weight. And there's always people that say why. And I think people forget sometimes that bodybuilding is not just cerebral. Like it's not just let's put it on paper and make sure everything's perfect. Sometimes there's emotion that goes into it and you're just like, you know what, this is fun, this is something I want to do. And maybe it's a risk, maybe it's not, but if it's in your head, you got to get it out. I mean, that's how I think that's how a lot of us started bodybuilding in the first place.
Absolutely.
We're like, hey, let's go bench something. Oh, okay, I benched 1 plate. Okay, well maybe I want to try and bench 2 plates. Like next thing you know, you're 250 pounds. Like
exactly.
It's just like that's how kind of it all starts, and I don't think that ever really goes away.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. It kind of goes with territory. It's just like, you know, being coming up in bodybuilding. It's like, you know, I knew I wanted to be a big guy. I didn't want to be you know, as a novice, I didn't want to stay as a heavyweight. You know, I wanted to be a super heavyweight.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember my first show, I was like 218 pounds. And, you know, but I would look at these guys and back then they were competing. And I was just like, man, I want to be like a mass monster. Like, you know, I still want to have a pleasant looking physique, but, you know, like, yeah, no doubt about it. I want to walk in the room and turn heads, man. I want to be that guy. And people can be like, wow, like, you know, because, dude, I mean,
because.
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
So and it's like, and I like I said, and I understand like the whole meaning in regards to like, you know, the why behind it, stuff like that. And honestly, like I said, it was just a personal goal when I first started this, and then with doing it, and so many great things have happened from it. I mean, it's you know, I didn't do it for attention, I didn't do it to for this collab or anything like that, but it's a lot of good things that came from it. You know, obviously, you know, Cardillo Belch reached out to me, and you know, they made me a personalized belt, and you know, definitely want to, so it's been cool talking to Steve this whole time, and obviously talking to him about his stories and talking to some of the legends in the powerlifting game, you know, and just talking to those guys. And obviously, like I said, you know, a couple years ago, I did a collaboration with Larry Wills, and I think that was a big part of it as well too, because when I went down there to Dubai to do a collab with Larry, I was supposed to actually I did, but I was supposed to pull 837, and I completely failed it. It felt like fucking 10,000 pounds when I tried it. So I think that was a big part of it, was like, you know, failing at something and then telling myself like, man, like I really dropped the ball with that, you know, collaboration, you know, down there in Dubai. And it wasn't a good idea for me to do it. I had been on a flight for 18 to 20 hours. I came back, went to the room, rested for like 5 or 6 hours. Then I had to pull 840 pounds, and probably
there's no way.
It was not the best idea, but let me
interrupt you for 1 second, because I don't hear very many people talk about that. We always show power lifters and bodybuilders lifting this crazy weight. Nobody ever talks about the ones they failed. So obviously I think the one that you just mentioned has a lot to do with the flight and all that, but what does that do to you mentally? Are you able to easily rationalize it because you're like, I was flying, blah, 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 or does it actually hold you back in any way when you come back to that weight at some point?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember when I failed the attempt, it fucked me up bad.
Really?
And I'm not gonna say I went to a dark place or nothing like that, but I was so like, the rest of my time out there in Dubai was not a good time. It was like, because all I kept thinking about was, dude, I can't believe like I really flew down here and failed 800.
Can I ask you? Sorry, I just want to. So you flew down there specifically just for that?
So I flew down there because I was kind of already known as being a heavy powerlifter or bodybuilder / powerlifter, you know, and I had already kind of surfaced around about me pulling 800 and being strong in deadlifts and stuff like that. So, yeah, me and I was actually Larry Will's manager. Adam had reached out to me. He's like, hey man, like, you're definitely one of the strongest bodybuilders that I've seen. And you're, you know, as far as that goes, I think it'd be very great for you to do a collaboration with Larry Wills. And I had been, and it's crazy too, because, you know, Larry is actually, even with me being a professional bodybuilder, I would look at Larry's videos even while I was prepping for a bodybuilding show, because it's just, I always like this intensity, you know, it's fire, you know, it's rage when he's lifting and hold on. And so when he reached out to me, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, man, let's do it. You know, I like Larry, and, you know, seems like a cool guy. And when I went down, it's my first time, you know, actually meeting him. So, so we set it up, and, you know, we did this whole thing with gas and doing a collab with Larry down there, and went down there. And yeah, it was basically, in regards to just go down there and doing a collab with, you know, some powerlifting stuff, because we actually did a workout, of course. You know, we did a, you know, heavy shoulder presses, of course. You know, we just did one of Larry's workout down there as far as we were down there. So, but the ultimate goal was to go down there and for me to pull a PR with Larry Wills in Dubai. So yeah, that was the ultimate goal of it. Yeah. And
so when you say you went to a dark place, that kind of strikes me too, because I'm like, you're there just with a buddy, like you're there with Larry. Like, was Larry a friend at this point, or was he still like somebody looked up to and you were kind of embarrassed, or like, why did you go to a dark place? Why wasn't like, what is the thought process after that is what I want to know. Like, what happens the next day? Are you just beating yourself up about it, or are you like embarrassed, or are you like, I don't know how I fucked that up? Like, what is the thought process going forward?
I wasn't necessarily embarrassed, but it was just like, I'm trying to think what I felt that before, and I'm trying to think what it compares to, but I want to say it's comparable to something that you felt like, you know, you were going to win, and then you actually lost, and you didn't even like prepare yourself how it would feel to lose this, and then now that you're feeling it, and it just kind of sucks. So because no doubt about it, when I went down there, you know, because I was already, I almost would take it. So here's a good comparison. I remember starting off as a bodybuilder. You know, I won my first competition as a novice. Then I went to the next show and I won that show. And then I went to North Americans, and I was just like, okay, I've been winning every show. I'm going to go pro in North Americans. And I went there and I got 9th, 10th place. And that's like, and I was just like,
you're like, oh, fuck, what the fuck?
And at that point, it fucked me up. And I was just like, because, you know, you're just used to winning and succeeding and this, and then something happens and it's like, fuck you, like, no, you're actually not. So that's how I felt whenever I you know, failed that PR, and it was so disturbing to me, because so the way, you know, I know a lot of people say, hey, you know, when it comes to heavyweight, you know, you're not lifting heavy enough if you're not scared of the weight. Okay. Sure. So
I've said that,
but I get that saying, but I personally never have went to a weight to where I was like nervous. But I can recall being down in Dubai when I was about to do that weight, I was actually nervous. Yeah. But prior to that, like all these other lifts that I've been doing, it's like, it's almost like I'm giving the weight the middle finger or something, because it's like, I'm never nervous. Yeah. It's like, I'm just like, I think about it like 3 days prior to I'm about to do it. And every single time, like I get to the weight, it's like, it's the way I think of it is like, I always think, how easy am I going to pull this? Or even when I did 885 a couple weeks ago, I thought, shit, maybe I'll try to do 2 reps instead of 1.
So how big is that's all mental game? Because I'll tell you, I always tell this story, so people on the podcast probably heard it a million times, but whenever I get to 500 on my squat, that's when it starts to fuck with me. And I've never done 6 plates because 5 plates is my mental block. I just have this but I've always had that mentality where like I will get to a certain weight where I'm like, oh fuck, like this is a lot, right? For me anyway. Right. But I found that the guys I know that are powerlifters that are really good have your mentality. Because I don't remember the guy's name. He guest lifted at one of my shows. He's a natural powerlifter, just like 400 pounds. I can't remember his name now. Anyway, he guest lifted at my show. So instead of a guest poser, we had him come deadlift.
Right.
And he would pace back and forth in front of the bar, kind of like somebody who's going to get in a fight. So I asked him afterwards, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, what is that? Like, is that you just getting in the zone? He's like, I literally think I'm going to fight the bar. He's like, and I'm not going to lose. He's like, I already know I'm going to lift the weight. I know he said all this shit about like, just kind of knowing already that it was going to go up. I just don't, I've never felt that. So it's like, I don't know how you get yourself into that mindset.
100%, man. I use so many different methods, and I was laughing at one of my buddies because he actually asked me at one point. He said, "Dude, before you lift, I saw you looking over in that direction," and he said, "I kind of looked over there, and it looked like you were standing there, that guy or something." And, and he's like, "Did you know him?" I was like, "No, man." I said, it was at that time. It's like, you know, because 100% is mental, and you can take your mind to wherever you want to go, and it's like, you know, it's
what
like,
were you doing? You're like, that guy's.
I mean, it's just like, I mean, for example, it's like, you know, a couple years ago, someone stole my truck, right? And
okay, go on. I want to know. I want to hear this.
Yeah, so it's like I have so many different things I could use. So it's just like, have you ever seen a movie, The Program?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like that, the linebacker on there that just talks shit to the quarterback and the running back.
Yeah.
So it's like I can look over at somebody, and this is just one of the many, and I can just think, oh, okay, so you're the one that stole my Escalade, huh?
Does that work? And, does that get you amped up?
Hell yeah, it works. Yeah.
Really?
And it's like, you know, and I could just kind of like bottle it up, and I'll just kind of, you know, look at them like, okay, like, all right, I got your ass. And, you know, then I go to the weight and act like the weight is him. That's but right. Kind of like what that powerlifter said is every single PR that I have done, I 100% already know I'm going to do it. It's never been zero doubt. It's never been, you know, any type of like fear or anything like that. It's literally like when I get to that bar, and that's what people say all the time, because even when I did 885, they're just like, dude, you made 885 look easier than 870.
Yep.
And I was just like, yeah, I mean, because I kind of know where my mind went when it came to that. And like, I have literally 3 to 4 days to get ready for that PR because my coach sends it to me like 4 days ahead of time.
Yeah.
So when I get to the gym, and everybody knows when I get to the gym, because when I get to the gym, it's like, especially when I'm doing PRs, like if you're my boy, if you're my friend, whatever, family, it's like no one talks to me. Like no one comes up and, you know, once I put my headphones on and, you know, it's none of that, you know, coming up, shaking my hand or whatever the case. Obviously, I acknowledge people. I'm not an asshole or nothing like that, but it's just like, you know, once I'm at that place, you know, I'm in that place until it's over and done with. Then once I lift it, then it's just like I'm laughing, goofing around and, you know, chilling, having a good time. But it's like, 100%. It is 1,000,000% mental, and it goes a long, long way for sure.
I think that's a really, really big talent. That if you could teach that, you'd be a millionaire. Because I think having control of your emotions is a big deal, right?
Yep.
But not just people. When people think of controlling your emotions, you're like, well, don't fly off the handle, or don't cry, or don't. That's not what I mean. I mean, when you can control your emotions to the point where you can, like you said, ball it up into a ball of energy and actually direct it into a lift.
Right.
That's something special. Like I've never been able to do that. My shit, like I get emotional when I lift. I think about maybe previous show I lost, or somebody beat me at a show or something like that. But it's different than what you're talking about. You're like, you got like that Michael Jordan shit where you're like,
I mean, because even, you know, and it's not just deadlifts, because it's just like, you know, I'll you know, for example, I don't bench anymore because when I bench press, I had a bad injury back in 2013 or 14, but I tore my tendon.
Back there?
Yeah, it wasn't the muscle, but the tendon came off the bone.
Okay.
And they had to go back in and reattach. So I don't do any barbell benching anymore, but I do heavy dumbbells. So, you know, and I'll do videos of like, you know, last week I did a video doing the 160s, and I was like, you know, smiling, laughing, you know, having a good time, you know, repping out some 160s, whatever the case is. But obviously, if I go to the 180s or 190s or 200s, then it's like it's no smiling, it's no laughing, because it's like, you know, I gotta take my mind to a certain place, because we're dealing with some serious weight here. There's nothing to play with. But it is for sure just like, you know, where whenever I'm lifting anything heavy, whether it's a top set or, you know, something I'm doing for reps or whatever the case is, like I'm definitely I always have to get into that mindset of, you know, just going to that certain place, like every workout. And even when it comes to, you know, even when it comes to prep, I would say that mindset is like there. I would say just about like every heavy workout, because I'll do like heavy legs on Monday, heavy chest and shoulders on Tuesday. I'll start doing heavy back on Wednesdays instead of Friday when I start doing prep, and then Thursday off, Friday, another leg day. But those 3 to 4 days out the week where it's extremely heavy, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a different person, because you know, once I get to the gym, it's like I'm immediately already in that place mentally. And like right now, it's kind of like, you know, I go to the gym now. Actually, you know, I'm a lot more social and talk, and, you know, I'll probably take a little bit longer break or whatever the case is, because, you know, we're kind of coasting a little bit, you know, just being so far from the show, of course, and, you know, somewhat being at a decent physique right now. But once it really, like, you know, and you know about this as well too, like once that switch turns on, then, you know, it's like game on at that point every single time I go to the gym.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the reason that bodybuilders get a bad rap, because I was always like that in the prime of my career. I was very stone faced in the gym,
right?
And I probably gave people looks like you did, just to get myself psyched up, not because I was actually mad. But those people take that home and they're like, that guy's an asshole. So like, that guy you were staring at was probably like, what the fuck is wrong with Joe?
So, and you know, when that happened too, because it's like, I remember when I was actually about to do a PR, and this guy comes up to me, and I had my headphones on, and he taps me on my shoulder while I had my headphones on, and I felt so bad because he taps me on my shoulder, and I just gave him the finger, and I just did like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked away, and I looked back, and he was just standing there like, what did I do?
Yeah.
And I took my headphones off. I said, hey man, I said, I'll talk to you whenever I finish up. And he was like, okay. But I didn't think about it anymore after that. And I remember I did the PR, and this was actually I think it was the last PR that I did. Mm-hmm. And I did it. And buddy comes up to me, and he was like, hey, you need to go talk to that person, because he walked off and he looked extremely sad, man. And I was like, oh shit, man, like, where's he at?
Yeah.
And I went and talked to him, and people that, you know, obviously, like I said, people will, you know, stereotype you and make, you know, just tell you all the time as far as the opinions they have of other people and stuff like that. But anyone that personally knows me knows it's like, look, man, I'm just as goofy as they come, man. I like to laugh, joke around the whole nine.
Yeah.
And you know, some people will see my list and be like, oh man, that guy's hardcore or this or this. And it's like, when I'm in a gym and I'm doing certain things, it's like, I'm in and out, and I lift heavy, I lift hard, I lift intense. But outside of that, man, it's like, I like to have a good time just like anybody else does. So, you know, went over there to that guy, and I apologized to him, and, you know, shook his hand. We took pictures, and now I see him in the gym just about every day. And he comes over there to me and talks to me. Actually, he kind of, you know, talks to me every time now. And, you know,
you know, but you know, what's funny is people meet bodybuilders at the most inopportune times.
Yeah.
Because in the gym, you know, usually if you're prepping for 8 to 12 weeks or whatever it is, or if you're in the gym, even in the off season, a serious lift, you kind of go in with a serious mindset. So you're not as friendly as you want to be. I mean, some people can do it. Like I've talked to James, and James will be like, you know, he can laugh between sets and then do a super heavy set. I'm like, when I go in the gym, it's like on, and then when I leave the gym, it's off. It's not like there's no in between. And the other time they meet bodybuilders, usually at an expo. Right. If like somebody's dieting for a show or something, and you're all drained and you're fucking tired, and so it's like, I don't feel like people ever get to meet bodybuilders at like their normal time, where they're like,
I agree,
where they're just like themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I agree.
It gets hard because you get a stereotype, and then, you know, it's hard to break that stereotype for most of us. So
yeah, and I'm like that too, because it's like, if I had a workout partner that would laugh in between sets or something like that, like he would, like if that switch was on, like he would get that look from me, like, dude, what is funny while we were training? Like, what's funny about you? Like,
it's so funny. Yeah, it's so funny how we're all so much alike. Eh? So I train with Paul. A lot of guys know Paul from the podcast, and Paul feeds off me. So we go in, I flip the switch, he flips the switch, we go to work.
Right.
But sometimes we'll add a third person, and the third person doesn't know the dynamic. So the third person will start talking between sets. And then Paul's too nice. So Paul would just start talking to the guy. And I'm like,
you're like me.
I'm like, hey, are we fucking training? Are we training? Or are we having coffee? Like, what the fuck is going on? So then everybody's like back in line, right? So I just
we are identical. I same thing. I have a workout partner, which is, it's 3 of us now. It's me and 2 other guys, and they understand me. And actually, they're actually my spokespeople now, because it's like, you know, if someone comes over, I see them, and I'll have my headphones on, and they'll, you know, someone outside of us 3 will come over and start talking to them, and they'll just be like, hey, like, no. Like,
that's hilarious. You know how funny that is? So I've been training with Paul for like 15 years. And he was always my like sorry guy. So like I'd be dieting for a show and like walking through the gym just like in my own zone. Yep. And if somebody, like if I have headphones on, somebody tries to talk to you and you don't hear me, you have your headphones, I just keep walking. Yeah. Paul was always behind me apologizing to everybody for me.
Same thing. Because it's like I gotta hear just about not every workout, but it's like now obviously go to the same gym all the time and go to destination and train and for the most part. And it's so funny, man, because it's just like the dynamic, because I had someone come up to me like, man, your energy, depending on if you're like this or like that, it's just so obvious. Yeah. And like, people know like when you come in the gym, like if like, hey, should I go up and dap Joe or should I just like look at him from a distance or,
they know.
Or even, if I look at him from a distance, should I wave at him or is he just going to look at me?
Is that mean? Like when people tell me, I'm like, cause I'm the same way. People are like, dude, you cannot hide your feelings.
I know,
People can just tell if you're pissed. They can tell from like a mile away.
So,
is that? Do we both need to be better people? Like, is that bad? So I'm like, man, I think about that sometimes. I'm like, I don't want people to be scared of me. Like,
I don't either. And it's like that's why I don't know. It's like I just made this post just now. It's like it's hilarious, man. It's a post with me trying to get into this damn smart car. So it's like if anything, man, I almost like for people to see like just different sides of me. It's like, like I said, I'm hardcore with it. I train heavy, I train hard. I know I'm intense when I get to that certain point or whatever the case is, but there's different sides of me as well too. And it's like, what? Here's an example right here. So it's like
you're not gonna get in this car, right?
I'm gonna be a fuck when I want to be. So it's just like, if it's like if someone hung around me for a week, because it's like my nephew, for example, my nephew's been living with me for like the last year now, and he's completely opposite of me. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Did you ask for this just for the video, or did you?
Dude, I've been trying to do this kid for the longest. I was trying to find someone who had a smart car, and this lady at the gym had one. And yeah.
Oh, that's her car. Oh, I see. Okay.
Nah, not that lady. It was actually an older lady that's competing in July. I think she's like 60 or 70 years old, but she does wellness. But anyway, that was her.
Sorry,
car.
Go on about your nephew. I apologize.
So he is I would say all the time, like him and I should have a talk show because he's very soft spoken. He's just very I'm not gonna say timid or anything like that, but just complete opposite of me. Because we can be somewhere and and at the end of the day, it's like, look, I'm the most, I'm a businessman, I'm respectful, and obviously just like yourself, respect gets respect, the whole nine or whatever the case is. And it's just like, but if it comes down to like, situations where like someone's saying something crazy or saying something stupid, and it's just like, dude, what? Like, and it's just like, we just never want to go to that. I'm not gonna say to that person because obviously, not over here doing stupid stuff or nothing like that. But compared to my nephew, he can come in and tell me a story that, hey, uncle, I was at the store and, some guy, walked in front of me and stepped on my shoe and put his groceries in front of mine and just turned around and looked at me and said, what are you going to do? And he was like, not, but that's, I'm being like, that didn't happen, of course, but I'm just saying, just an example. But and I was like, well, Alice, what did you do? And he's like, oh, nothing. And I'm just, Alice, what the fuck, dude? Like, so I mean, I'm exaggerating, but but obviously in that situation, vice versa, it'd be like, dude, like, what are you doing? You just stepped on my shoe and you put your groceries in front of mine. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. So in regards to, do we need to be better people? I mean, that's just, I don't know. It's a hard question because it's just like the way I teach my nephew, just especially because I saw a post of yours that you wrote, and especially with the things that are, I would just say the way society is these days. Because I've even seen it so much, with other people, myself, and I was just talking to a good friend of mine who's he's an ex-retired NFL player, and he was telling me about his daughter. She's making all these accomplishments, and she's on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and she's like in high school. And he was just asking me, he's just like, man, like, like, why are people saying all these things and saying this and saying that? And I was telling my nephew the same thing, because he looks at things now and he'll say, oh, uncle, I want to be like you. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I'm like, well, first of all, nephew, it wasn't always like this. And number two, it was a struggle before it came to just the stuff you see now. Like, obviously people see stuff now and they think, okay, that's how it's always been. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
But another thing I was telling him is like, and the way I see things right now, even when I've been, whether I'm prepping for a show or whether I'm doing these PRs with deadlifts or just anything that I'm doing something that makes me happy or that I enjoy, there's going to be someone who finds something negative with it or says something.
Always.
And I told him, I was just like, dude, you really have to have thick skin these days, because the way things are, I don't know, I'm just going to say going now, was it's been happening for years now, or maybe I'm just now seeing a lot of it. And I've seen it obviously with everything. I've seen it in bodybuilding, I've seen it in powerlifting, I've seen it in sports, I've seen it in this and this. I could just see something great that somebody does, and I'll just go read the comments, and you'll have just someone, or just mass majority of people, instead of giving a hand clap or respecting it or whatever the case is, saying stupidity or negative shit. And I'm just like, I don't understand it, because I've never been that person. Whether I think someone doing something is the dumbest shit that I've ever seen. I've never took time out of my day to go and write a comment and say, this is stupid, man. Like this is retarded. Or
I just scroll past it. I'm like, I don't understand that either, right? But I think I think you're probably noticing it now though, because you're getting more popular. And I think the more popular you get, the more it's like the more people support you, which is awesome. But there's also the more people that are like just gonna write dumb shit and videos and whatever, right? So
yeah, and that's and it happens. I'll just tell him that as far as it goes, to where it's just like it's just how things are, when it comes to a lot of different things. And I said, especially if you're in the public eye, if you're wanting to do this or wanting to do that, just be prepared, man. And it's just one of those things where it's just like, that's why I put on a lot of my posts now. It's like, man, at the end of the day, people just do what makes you happy. And really all that matters is, your circle of people, and, you're going to have these people and, try to describe you as if you're this person or that person. And you'll have, you'll just have all these people putting you into a place that you didn't even ask for, that didn't even come out of your mouth. But it's just the way, society is and stuff like that. And you just really have to, just be headstrong, man. And, and even the most headstrong person, man, can see something and read something or whatever the case is. And it still, get to you a little bit, but it's just, it's just how it is. So in other words, in regards to, do we need to be better people? I don't know. So,
You're like, I like it the way I like myself the way I am. Fuck it.
Yeah.
No, but listen, I want to go back a bit, because you mentioned that it wasn't always as easy as it is now, or it wasn't always as glamorous as it is now. So tell me a bit about yourself. So where are you from first? Let's start there. What state are you in?
I'm in Dallas. Yeah, I'm in Texas.
Were you born there?
Yeah, born and raised here.
Okay. Do you have a big family, small family? How big is your family?
Yeah, I have an older brother, and he's 2 years older than I am. So I grew up in a city called Mesquite, Texas, and we grew up in a normal household. My parents are still together, been together, I want to say 50 plus years still now to this day.
It's awesome.
Lived in an average income household, and we had everything that we needed when we grew up as kids, as far as that goes. In middle school, elementary, middle school, high school, did good in school. My parents thought actually I was going to be like the next lawyer or doctor in the family, because my uncle's a doctor.
Did you enjoy academics? Did you enjoy school?
I did, yeah.
Really?
Actually, I did, and it was. And I say another thing, man. I always used to. I've always been like super competitive ever since like elementary. So
even at sports or even at school, like getting grades and stuff.
Yeah, everything. Because back then, as a kid, the cool thing to do was make good grades. So
was it? I don't remember that. I don't remember, that didn't happen in my house.
at least in the circle. Like I had three close friends, and I'll name one. It was Shaylin, Victor, Ricky, another guy named Brandon. But we were all good friends, and and at the end of everything, we would compare report cards and see who made the best grade. Yeah,
I never fucking did that ever. I get my report card, I hide that shit. I'd be like, oh, nobody sees this. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's such a wholesome thing. I would not have expected to hear that. So
yeah, it's like that's what we did, and that was through elementary, middle school, and about ninth grade. The cool thing to do at that point was to be good in sports.
Yeah.
So and to be strong and fast. So obviously, I still my grades went from A to B to C's, B's and C's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my attention went more into working out, football, the whole nine and stuff like that. And I played football all the way from elementary school, Pee Wee football.
Were you a big kid? Like were you big?
I was not. I was not. And
how tall are you, Joe?
I'm 38 years old right now.
How tall are you?
Man, in bodybuilding, I'm 5'6", but in real life, 5'10" and a half.
What the fuck does that mean?
Bodybuilders, man, it's just like, I'll say I'm like shorter as a bodybuilder, but no, in real life, I'm actually 5'10", 5'10" and a half.
Oh, I thought you were tall. I thought you were taller than that. So
no, it's actually, and people think I'm lying all the time, man, but when I take my shoes off, it's, people think I'm 6 foot and above, but it's actually, I've done the measurement still to this day. I actually measured myself like a few weeks ago, and I'm 5'10", and actually 5'10" and 3/4.
So you were a smaller guy, grade 9, 10, like through high school. When did you start to put on the mass?
Yeah, I was a smaller guy, and I say this, okay, so I was a small guy, and I would say as a little kid, I'm not going to be all big as a kid in Pee Wee football.
Yeah.
But even as Pee Wee football, it's like, I would say, like, I still had that like mentality. I was so skinny, but I loved to hit. Like I was not afraid to like put my shoulder down and and they would, even though light someone up, man. It's like I was that kid back then. In middle school, I was that kid. In high school, I was still that kid. And like I said, I wasn't a big guy, but when it came to practice, people would look at me as like the threat, like, oh, I don't want to go head up with Joe, because he's just a little crazy or whatever. Like, he likes to hit. So,
yeah.
But in high school, I know I graduated high school, I was like 185 pounds, 180 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went to college. And I tell people, I've said this many times, but I went to college, went to Angelo State University.
What'd you take in college? What was your major?
I don't even think I got that far, man. Like
did you finish or no?
No, I didn't. Yeah, college was not for me, man. I remember going to classes. I probably count on hand. I mean, times I actually went to classes and didn't fall asleep. So
can we talk about that for a minute? Because I had a similar experience. So
yeah,
what was it about college? Did you like anything about college?
No,
nothing.
No, I'm not gonna say nothing. I mean, because I went to Angelo State. I'm live in Dallas, so San Angelo is a real country.
Yeah.
So I can't necessarily say I like being away from my family or parents because I was out there, and actually the thing that I did like, my favorite cousin was out there, so that's the reason I went to that school, because he was there, and I got accepted, and so we were there together. So obviously we had a good time being out there with my favorite cousin. But as far as being out there and going to school and liking it out there, I can't really think of any, like, I don't have anything in my mind that says, man, I really missed this when I was in San Angelo going to school.
That's strange to me, is because you say as a younger kid, you had such a passion for like getting good grades.
Yep.
And fast forward to college, and now you're like, I don't even like it. So what is it that you didn't like about it? Was it the crowds of people? Was it just sitting through class? Was it like, what was it that you didn't like?
I would just say, my mom always said, even when I was in high school, that I've had like that, like she always called me like that old man blood is what she said about me. Like,
what is that?
Kind of like I guess like being ahead of my thinking at such a young age.
Yeah. So
even at college, I would go to school and I would just be like, man, like, why am I learning this shit? Like, what does this have to do with, if I want to be a, engineer, like, why am I learning, like, why am I reading a book about, Shakespeare or something like that? I just couldn't understand. Obviously, when you go to college, you have to take your basics and do this and do that. And I just couldn't understand, like, why am I doing this right now instead of doing that over there? That's actually going to give me the skill and the knowledge that I need for that, in other words, long story short, and it's not to persuade anyone not to go to college, but I just found a lot of the times that I was in class, I just felt like it was a waste of time. And I just didn't understand it while I was learning these things when it had nothing to do with what I really wanted to do. But obviously
were you bodybuilding in college, or were you not bodybuilding yet?
No, I wasn't bodybuilding. But when I went to, and that same thing with high school, because even in high school, we used to have these lift off, like in football. So we used to have bench, squats, and something else. But we would basically just do PRs on who was the best at whatever, you know, when it came to bench squat. It was something else. It wasn't deadlift.
Were you winning those?
No, because we had those linemen, man, and but even at that point, I wanted to be stronger than linemen, and but I never recall winning or being at the top. I knew I was like strong at that point because I would like beat other people. Like I was a running back, so I would beat all the other running backs, but I was trying to like beat, you know, like the whole team.
The 300-pound lineman.
Yeah. It's just what happened. So, but you know, when I went to college, I was working out a lot out there, and I actually had a workout partner out there. His name was Ryan. I think it was Ryan Christian. Used to call him Rhino. And we started working out a lot. And he was actually like a pretty big guy, you know, pretty shredded and stuff like that in college. And I actually looked up to him because he was actually bigger than I was. He was in his 200s, and I was like 180 something at that point.
Yeah.
And I tell people this story all the time, man. It's like I've been natural, you know, all the way from, you know, high school to college and the whole nine. And I'll tell someone just straight up whenever I started doing XYZ.
Yeah.
But in college, all natural. And I went there, went 185. And another thing as well too, it's like I've never been the type to really ask for favors or anything like that. And when I went to college, I was broke, like, you know, and I don't want to call my parents and ask them for money. I did it a couple of times, not gonna lie, but you know, when you're in college, you're not working, like that money just goes so quick. You got to buy books, especially if you're not there on a scholarship or grants or loans or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So I worked. I got a job to work part-time and then go to school. And I remember I worked a job at Hollywood Video as a cashier. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was over there, you know, just being a cashier at that place. And I was still trying to go to class and, you know, working out and the whole nine. And as I was working out, I started thinking like, man, I need to work somewhere where it kind of benefits me a little bit more. So I got a job at GNC.
That's right.
And so I started working for GNC. And I remember there's all these, I remember working there, and that's when the product Muscle Milk came out. I remember it's crazy too, because Muscle Milk came out, they were like, oh yeah, take Muscle Milk, that's steroids and protein. So that was the rumor back then with Muscle Milk. It's like, hey, Muscle Milk is actually steroids. So,
perfect.
You know, yeah. And
imagine it was that easy, so, you could just drink it.
So I bought a shitload. Like every check, man, I was just getting Muscle Milk.
Yeah.
And I would get that, and then I would take that mass gainer, and it was also some hot product out there. And I think that's when like pro hormones were out back then as well too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got protein, like jugs of protein. The newest, actually, you know what? It was a bottle called On Cycle, Off Cycle is what it was called. And
okay, that's good marketing.
Yeah, like, I was like, all right, cool. And I remember taking that, and I got creatine, and I was just taking this stuff, and I was just eating like. You know, like I said, I didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I remember I was, like I said, 180 pounds. And I would go to the store. I would buy hot dogs. I would buy TV dinners. I would buy, you know, noodles. I would buy just, you know, bread, deli meat, the whole nine. Yep. And I would just eat anything and everything that I could. And I was taking creatine just nonstop. I remember I had the pills, and supposedly you're supposed to take 3 pills before you work out, 3 pills after. I remember I was taking like 6 pills in the morning, 6 pills before I worked out, 6 pills after. You know, because I just had this unlimited supply of creatine, and I was just eating, training, and lifting heavy with my workout partner, and my weight was literally going up every week, like literally like 5 to 8 pounds every week. And
I want to ask you, I want to ask you before you go on.
Yep.
And just to quickly, how fat did you get in that period? So you were 185, say. By the time you were done college or whatever, a couple of years later, how heavy were you? And was it sloppy, or was it like bodybuilding fat?
It was actually like mass. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, you said I had 6-pack abs, but I know I didn't.
Yeah.
But
you got some lines.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It was like you know, I was still, you know, I could see some veins in my arms, you know, still getting up to the weight. But I remember coming home after either a year or a semester, and it was for Christmas break, and I was 240 pounds. And you know, and I didn't think much of it, but I just remember it was the Christmas break and holidays, and I walked in the house, and all my family was there, and it's like the room just stopped. And I walked in, and they were just like, "Holy shit, Joe! Like, dude, like, what happened?"
Yeah.
I was just like, what? And, you know, because I didn't think much of it. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, but everyone just looked at me and I was just like, oh shit, man. And it's crazy because I never told you this, but my older brother, which is 2 years older than me, he was always the quickest, the strongest, you know, just the athlete. And people used to think I was adopted because I was just like so skinny and, you know, slow or whatever. Yeah. And, you know, he's Speedy Gonzalez over here and strong and ripped up and 60 can eat burritos and still have 8-pack abs and stuff like that. So, but he was always stronger than I was. And I remember, and this just goes to show you like the whole mental part of it. I remember they were like, man, you should arm wrestle your brother now and see who's stronger. And I was like, all right, let's go. And my brother's like, oh man, come on, you can't beat me. Like, you put that weight on, like you're still, you know, little Joe to me. And I was like, all right. Yeah. And I remember I went to the bathroom and back to that mental part, but I literally went to the bathroom and I psyched myself up for like 2 minutes, just being like, I looked in the mirror, I was like, right. Yeah, I was like, man, I was like, this is your time, Joe. Like, you know, show everybody what's up and this and this. And, you know, I went back out there, serious face, like just ready. And we arm wrestled and I beat him. And it's kind of a big deal because it's just like, you know, I feel like it kind of messed him up a little bit too, you know, because it had just been, I mean, our whole life, you know, always just been stronger than me and stuff like that. Now little brother's coming back. But yeah, I was all natural at that point. You know, and I tell people all the time as well too. Like I was natural around 245, 250, and you know, first thing I ever took was, you know, just a small amount of tests, whatever the case is. I went from 250, and I was fat. I went up from 250 to 310 pounds, pretty down fat, pretty quick.
So there's a couple of things I want to say about that. So I'm the youngest of 5 siblings. And I have 3 older brothers.
Right.
And my oldest brother above me is 12 years older. So I have the same kind of like you're the younger brother fucking shit going on. I remember a period where like I started bouncing because I kind of did everything he did. Like he played football.
I did the same thing.
I played football. He bounced for a little while. I bounced for a little while.
Right.
It was around the time I first started bouncing, and we wrestled on his front lawn one night. He came home. We were living together. He came home drunk, and I came home from work. we were wrestling on the front lawn. It was the first time I beat him, and I'm like, I'm like, it's changed, motherfucker. I'm like, I'm bigger than you are now. So but I wonder sometimes if like that. I always think about this. I'm big into the mental aspect of shit. I wonder sometimes if like having that, like you said, your older brother was bigger, stronger, faster, whatever. Is that, and now we've taken it to an extreme. We're like, fuck you. I'm going to be bigger than you are. Exactly. I'm going to be so much bigger than you are that you can't even fucking compare. So it's like, is that like a trigger that like, you know what I mean? Like you've taken it so far because of that growing up that way.
I want to say, because, you know, my brother, he, you know, he was a big guy. He bodybuilded as well for a little bit. And, you know, when he kind of started bodybuilding, I was already somewhat bodybuilding and doing some stuff in regards to that. And he actually came to me, wanted to get some knowledge on bodybuilding, you know, supplementation and stuff like that. And I was able actually to, you know, teach him some stuff in regards to those things. But
how good does that feel when your older brother comes to you and he's like, hey, can you teach me how to get big?
It's pretty fucking awesome. And not only that, like I remember he called me crazy so many times because we would do legs, and you know, I got taught how to do legs the hard way just from some older guys that were my mentors in the gym, and they kicked my ass the first time I did legs with them, and it was just like the hardest leg they ever did. But I remember training legs at that point from then on, and I remember when my brother would come in and want to work out with me, and we would do legs, and I wouldn't see my brother for weeks after that, after doing legs. And he was
I've experienced that too.
So it was just like at that point, man, it's just like, you know, like I said, it felt good, you know, because it was just one of those things where it's like, you know, I kind of, you know, and that's just another thing too. It's like I didn't get big and strong because I was always in the shadow of my brother as a little kid, but it just happened, you know, and it's just like with everything else, you know, because I guess it goes back to that why, or whatever the case is, like, hey, why'd you start bodybuilding, or why'd you start lifting heavy, or why'd you start doing this, or why'd you start doing that? And it's just, man, it just kind of fell in place. And, you know, and the why in regards to lifting heavy and this and this, I mean, that's been there since I was in middle school. I mean, and just that competitive nature with this or that. And even now with lifting heavy, the whole nine, it was never really, and I'm not going to, actually, you know what, I'll be honest with you. Because when it came to deadlift, you know, I did hear about, you know, Stan Efren. And I think to be the original guy, you have to do a meet or something like that. But I just remember hearing that number, like, hey, what's the heaviest that someone's deadlifted as a pro? And it's 837.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was definitely determined to beat that number when I first started.
We all need benchmarks, man. That's how we get better. I mean, I think, you know, a lot of times you see people deadlifting like 6, 7, 8 plates online all the time now. And I'm like, I don't remember that from when I was coming up, but I think it's a product of social media, because when you see somebody else do it, you're like, well, maybe it's possible then. And then it makes you try to get there.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think we had that as much when you couldn't see all the other guys doing it.
Right.
So that's a major factor. But I want to go back to, why did you decide to start your first cycle? I don't want to get into gear too much. I'm just curious, because you said you started and you went to like 300 pounds. So what was that trigger? Did you decide you want to compete? Did you decide you want to just get bigger? Like, what was it that made you start?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. You got a call coming in?
No, it was a low battery, 20%, so should be
all
good.
Right, we'll clear it. We won't go on too much longer, but I just want to ask.
So I was in the gym, and I was actually working for 24 Hour Fitness at the time. And that goes back to like when I said those guys put me through a workout. But I remember it was like 3 or 4 just humongous guys. At the time, I thought they were humongous. And I was, just coming home from college and, being, 240 pounds at that point. But I would see these guys work out in the evening and just think like, my gosh, like, look at those freaks over there. Mm-hmm. And I was known as the big guy that worked there as an employee. So I remember, 24 Hour Fitness had made this new rule to where no gym members could have gym bags on the floor.
Yeah.
And the manager came to me and they said, hey, Joe, like, we want you to go over there and tell those 4 big guys over there to take their shit and go put it in the locker room. And I'm just like, holy fuck, man. Like, what? Like, I'm not going to go do that. Dude, they're going to crush me, man. And, but sure enough, man, I went over there and I walked up to a guy, and I still talk to these guys still to this day, and still real good friends of mine. And I went up to them and I said, hey guys, like, I was just told that you guys all have to take your gym bags and go put them in the locker. And they were so cool, man. They were so nice. They were just like, what's your name? And I was like, I'm Joe. And they were just like, hey, Joe, like, you can go tell your manager politely. And they were like, you're cool, but just go tell your manager politely, like, they can really shove it up their ass. And I was just like, well. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go tell them that, man. But, but you know what? We talked for about 10 minutes and they were so cool and so nice. And they ended up taking their bags to the locker. And when they were leaving, they came up to me and they're like, hey, what's your name? And, introduced myself. And they actually invited me to work out with them, the next following week.
Yeah.
And obviously, the next time we worked out, the question was like, are you natural, this and this? I'm like, yeah, I'm natural. And never took anything or nothing like this. And they were like, how old are you? I was just like 19. And they're like, what? Like, you're 19 at this weight? And look at your arms. Like, look at your legs and this, whatever. And they were like, dude, you could really be something in the bodybuilding world. And I was like, what's bodybuilding? And they started telling me about bodybuilding and competing and doing this and doing that. And talked to one of my buddies there and had a chat with him on the phone one time, and went ahead and decided just to jump on some I think it was Sustanon. I jumped on Sustanon and Enerdraw.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is all you need, man, and just do this, do that. And went over there and showed me how to do it. And he would do everything for me at that point.
Yeah.
And my weight was just going up and up and up. And at no point I was 270, then I was 280, and I would just keep seeing the scale and back. But I was eating like shit, man. I was eating anything and everything I could get my hands on. But it was literally just good.
That was the other thing I wanted to say. I'm sorry, I actually forgot about it. When you said, I just wanted to express that point that you said about when you were first growing, because I think I get a lot of DMs from guys who are just starting.
Yep.
And they hear me and the guys talk on the podcast, and these guys on the podcast like Ian and James and Roman, they're very, very perfect with their diet.
Yep.
And I don't think that's bad. I think it's a good thing.
Right.
But I like having guys like you on that can tell the story from when they started, because a lot of guys, they get so caught up trying to get everything perfect that they forget to just fucking eat.
Yeah.
Because I did the Hungry Man dinner thing too. I would like go get a Hungry Man dinner that had like a little shitty steak in it, and I was like, "Oh, this is a good steak."
That shit was good too. With the mashed potatoes and corn. Yeah,
that was the shittiest mashed potatoes and corn ever, but it tastes good for some reason. So
I do it too, but
But man, I remember eating like powdered potatoes, like the way you'd make the mashed potatoes out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's a good thing to do if you can afford it or whatever. I wanted to express that point because I think people get too stuck trying to be perfect, and they forget to enjoy what they're doing. and just eat and just grow and just train. Right. So I wanted to go back and emphasize that point a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, and if I could take it back, I mean, would I have went back and did it with some structure or stuff like that? Probably not, because it taught me in regards to like what you just said, you know, just eating. And I even learned that, like I said, when I was natural, because when I went from 180 to 240, I was eating. And I didn't even get sloppy at that point. You know, I was just put on some decent tissue and my strength went up, and, you know, put on some good mass, you know, without getting fat. Because one thing I noticed as well, too, and my buddy told me this, like, if you're eating a lot of the food and you're training heavy and hard, like, it'll go in the right places. And it actually did, you know, because I was able to, you know, put on some good size tissue and the whole nine. But when I jumped on, you know, some sauce and stuff like that, you know, my weight was going up and size was going up, strength was going up. I mean, back then, I remember I was benching like 20 years old. I was benching like 500 pounds for like 4 to 6 reps, you know. Crazy. Yeah. And I was just like, dude, I mean, I enjoyed it. But
was there, let me ask you this, because this is, I feel like, is lost on on the youngest generation now, because they're trying to be so perfect. Yeah. To me, when I started, there was just a lot of fun involved. Yeah. Like, my eating wasn't so perfect, but I was having a lot of fun. Like, I didn't get sloppy fat. I mean, I got chubby, but like, I just enjoyed what I was doing. I wasn't so worried about like, got to make sure my macros are dead on and got to make sure, like, you know, it just, sometimes I feel I feel like the fun is lost sometimes. Yeah.
I didn't know shit about macros back then. And even whenever I started working with a coach to, compete in my first show back then, we still didn't do macros. I remember, like, it was still just, you know, I remember breakfast back then for my prep was like 4 waffles with peanut butter and jelly.
That's awesome. Okay, well, you know, we gotta actually express this point too. You have crazy genetics, so even though you're a natural, you probably got away with a little bit more than the average person could get away with.
I would agree. Yeah. But even you know, in all season, I was, you know, my workout partner, he's like, hey, every day before you work out, and I got so tired of burgers, man, but I would go to Whataburger and get a double meat with cheese and bacon every pre-workout. And
I would have thrown up I can't stomach that kind of shit pre-workout. That's
really?
Crazy.
Yeah, man. I remember sitting in a parking lot and just getting that burger down every pre-workout, man. But he told me, hey, that was on the way, and I listened, you know, because I was just like, you know, I was coachable and I wanted to listen, I wanted to grow, and I wanted to get better. Yeah, and you know, I learned a lot, but it's like I learned a lot of shit of what not to do as well too.
That's important too, though. That's important.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I agree with you as far as it goes. Like, we didn't, you know, I wasn't weighing food back then. I remember whenever I did my first show, whenever I won to Ronnie Coleman, as an amateur, hell, I didn't weigh food at that point. You know, I was just told what to eat for each meal and just eat as much as you can. You know, and if it was clean food, whether it was breakfast when it came to the oatmeal or the egg whites or whatever case, just eat until you're full. And if the next meal was chicken and rice or with greens, eat as much as you can. And that's what I did. Like,
did you get shredded?
That was if you go that picture that you pulled up where it's like the
before and after.
The before and after when I first started.
Right here. Let me share it 1 sec. This photo.
That one right there, yeah.
Yeah, you're in great shape. This was eating whatever you wanted.
That's eating however much.
Well, however much volume. Sorry, not whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
However.
Yeah. Hell, I even looked at that and I was just like, man, I had the best hamstrings and glutes at that point back then. So I was just like, man, maybe I should go back to doing that.
I was just gonna say you should go back to this diet. No, I want to ask you. So, okay, so you knew nothing about bodybuilding. So we'll fast forward a bit. Did you go watch a show and then decide you want to do it, or how did you decide to do your first show?
My buddy took me to I think it's when they had nationals down here in Dallas, and he took me to a bodybuilding show, and I was blown away. And I remember he pointed out a guy to me, and he said, "Hey, see that guy right there? Like he's going to win the whole show." And he had on this jumpsuit, and he looked like nothing under the clothes. Yeah. And I was like, dude, that guy's small. Like, I'm bigger than him. Like, look at me. Like, I could go size that guy up, man. Like, what is that? And he's like, okay, just wait, man. Yeah. And he got up on stage, and my buddy Tommy said, hey, you know that guy you say you can size up? That's him on stage. I turned to look, and I was like, holy fuck, man. Like, what the hell? And it was Chris Cook. And
shit. Yeah.
I
remember Chris.
And he won. And I don't know if that was nationals. I don't know if it's a pro show, but maybe it was nationals or that's when he went pro or something, maybe. But he was looked phenomenal, man. And I was just at that point, man, I was hooked, you know, because I was just like, this guy looks incredible. He you know, just the look, his aesthetics, you know, the way he posed the whole nine. And at that point, I was just like, like I want to be
Were you hooked because you loved the physique, or was there also part of it that you were like, maybe I can make this a career? Or where did the career part come into play? Was it later on, or like, did you think about that from the beginning?
I never thought about it when I first started. I'll take you even back. When I first started competing, because I did my actual first show. So that pic that you just did was actually my second show.
Okay.
I did a first show before that, maybe 4 years prior to that. It was the Lone Star Prince Harrison show. And that's when I was on that diet with the waffles and eating this and eating that. And I remember back then I was told not to, don't eat any salt, no seasoning or nothing like that. And golly, man, I remember doing that. And I was living at home with my parents as well too. And my mom would always come, you know, downstairs and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're cooking that stinky turkey breast again, or that fish again, or whatever. You're smoking up my house or whatever." Yeah. I'll just, you know, and I was making them miserable and I was unhappy. But my first show I did was a Lone Star, and I placed, I want to say, third. And I fucking hated it. I was like, I'll never do this shit again. Like, I'm not putting these trunks on. This was the worst time ever in my life. Like, this was just pure torture, and that was it. And it wasn't until years later, because after that, I just went back to being a big guy, strong, lifting heavy, and just being that guy, you know, going to shows and watching buddies compete, but never really having the desire to want to compete. But it's actually an emotional thing that really made me want to compete, because I went and it was years later, got into a relationship. We had a baby boy, and he was born with a heart condition. He's born with a hypoplastic left heart syndrome. So he had to have open heart surgery the day after he was born. Did good, started having complications at around like 6-7 months, and took a turn for the worse. And he was put on a list to be for a heart transplant. He was denied, and he just went downhill after that. But, you know, for every good thing that was taking place, something else would happen bad. You know, this would happen good, and then his kidneys would get affected, or this would happen good with this body part, and this would decrease. So long story short, he ended up passing away at 10 months.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
I appreciate it. So at that point, you know, after everything was said and done, and funeral and stuff like that, you know, it was just one of those points. And this is, I'm a big believer that I feel like a lot of successful people have stories, and they, you know, it's like, some people are, you know, I'm not gonna say necessarily saying handed success, but, you know, for the ones that really have had to go through some stuff and see some things and stuff like that, and really had every reason to give up, you know, and still found a way to be successful or push through, like, man, like, you have my respect 100%. Because I was at that place, you know, I didn't know what to do. All I knew was that I was angry and I was hurt. I didn't really know how to talk about it or who to talk about it with. You know, I didn't want to call my parents because, you know, my mom would break down. I didn't want to talk to my dad. I didn't want to talk to my son's mother, which she was kind of my outlet at the time, you know, when that stuff happened. But I just knew that I needed to do something, because at one point I did take a turn for the worse. I started, you know, getting in trouble, start, you know, going out, start getting into fights, you know. And I just kind of reflected. And I'll say this, I mean, there was one point I got in a fight, I went to jail, and, you know, I never went to prison or nothing like that, but I was in jail. And I just remember thinking, like, man, like, you know, long? My son, like.
How long were you in jail?
It was overnight.
Oh, okay. I did one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just overnight.
Okay. No big deal.
all it takes is one night, too. It's like, man, I never want to come back here.
Yeah.
But I just remember reflecting and just thinking, and even, you know, my lawyer at the time, which is still a good friend of mine, was just like, Joe, like, what are you doing? Like, you know, come on, this is not you, or whatever the case is. And I just remember thinking, like, you know, my son wouldn't be proud of me. Like, look where I'm at. I'm in this jail cell and I'm doing stupid stuff like that. And it's just like, you know, this is not it.
Yeah.
And I remember I was working, and I went to the gym the next day, and I went up to a guy at the gym that I knew was a trainer there. His name was actually Herman Steele. He trained at a gym out there called Stroud's, and went and sat with him and talked to him. And we just had a heart-to-heart conversation. He knew about, you know, what had took place and stuff like that. And he told me straight up, he was like, man, like, use it. Like this whole prep, use it.
Yeah, 100%.
And and that's what I did, man. Like, we, you know, we got in that gym, and like the next week we were just balls to the wall, man. And it was whatever he asked me to do, I did it. And I remember just at that point, like my whole thing was just like, you know, I don't care. I mean, he can ask me to eat fish 6 meals a day, and that was crazy too, because he actually did the last 2 weeks prior to the show. And I just did it, man. It was just like, I was just like tunnel vision. And that was, you know, I went to that show, and I won that show as an amateur. And people always tell me like, oh man, you should have done open, and you know, you could have done this, you could have done that, whatever the case is. But Herman always told me like, hey, let's do it the right way. Start off as smallest, then your next show do open, then your next show go to nationals, or you know, a pro qualifier, whatever the case is, do it like that. We're gonna do it the right way. And I did that. So, you know, when that took place, I would just say to where that's just where I still appreciate the day, to where it's just like, you know, when I prepped for that show, it was like no distractions. If you got in my way, you were gone. If you know, if you stressed or something from the outside took place, whatever the case is, it didn't exist. I mean, that's the way I was most successful. And I'm not gonna lie to you, still, you know, when I do these pro shows now, it's like I'm not gonna say I've struggled with it, but it's like I've allowed, you know, other things
to interfere. Yeah, but I have to ask you this, because it seems like you had a purpose because of what happened with your son.
Yep.
And it's almost like it's out of your hands, I want to say. And the reason I say that is because my father passed away before my pro debut.
Oh man.
It was like this is like 2006. So I'm okay now, but it was like, I think I had started prepping just 2 weeks before.
Yep.
And he passed away, and I was back in the gym the next day, but it was different. Something was different. And that was one of my best preps to date. And honestly, probably one of my best looks to date. I don't really have too many photos of that show, but it's almost like it's weird. I don't want to say higher purpose in like a fluffy kind of way. I don't want to say like my dad was watching me or whatever. Like, I don't know about all that, but your brain is set a different way, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you're kind of doing it for a different reason other than like your normal selfish reason.
100%. Yeah. And I, you know, I remember dedicating that show, and, you know, I remember, you know, still to this day, which, you know, because even that show where I did the first show as amateur, Ronnie Coleman, I mean, matter of fact, I remember Chris Bumstead saying this prior to his last Olympia win, I believe. But when I hear stories like this, it's like, I don't understand what they feel, but I understand how I felt, and I understand how I feel at certain times where you put your all into it. And when it's time for that moment, it's just like, you have to let it out. So I remember every show for a while, like after every prep, I would take a shower and I would just like I would just cry, man, because it was just like, you're just so exhausted from stuff that happened during prep or whatever. And it's like, and it's not that you're sad or nothing like that, but it's just like, now you can just like release all that stuff. And I remember doing that before the Ronnie Coleman show when I did it. And I just remember being in the shower like the night before I went to go get spray tan, and just crying, all that stuff. And then I remember going to the next show, same thing. Then going to the next show, the same thing. So that's even what I said when I did North Americans, why I was so just upset, because I just remember putting everything into that show as well too. And it didn't, you know, pan out the way I wanted it to, of course. But it's literally just been, you know, one of those things to where it's just like, you know, obviously, you know, as well too, like when you put everything into it, and when you're successful, and then when you put everything into it, and then of course when you're not successful, obviously it's two different mindsets, two different feelings. But it's just one of those things, man. But you know, now, you know, it's like, why did I start bodybuilding? I mean, that's definitely why, because even when I started bodybuilding, I made a dedication, you know, to my son. I was saying, I'm not going to stop bodybuilding until I go, I made a dedication to my son. I said, I'm going to do bodybuilding, and I'm going to go pro, and I'm going to do it for my son. And when I went pro, I said, I'm not going to stop bodybuilding until I become a top Olympic competitor. And I'm still there at this point. And, you know, it's crazy too, because I went to the seminar a couple of weeks ago, and I heard just some really good stories just from, you know, competitors. And I actually haven't even told her this yet, but I remember Sheila Brown stood up and started talking about some stuff. And, you know, and we're not getting any younger as far as it goes. I just turned 38, March 19th. And, you know, you kind of start thinking like, oh, you know, this and this, you know, age this, age that, whatever the case is. But it was hearing Sheila say, you know, she didn't win her first show. And even hearing, you know, stories about Ronnie and stuff like that. And, you know, and Sean Rodinger, rest in peace, you know, when he won his first Olympia. But just knowing, you know, and Brandon Curry, another one, you know, with some of these guys, to where, you know, when you hit your mark, and no doubt about it, I have not hit my mark in a long time. And, you know, and it's something that obviously, you know, I've been criticized about in regards to, you know, holding this size and being this guy, whatever the case is. And obviously I hear it all the time. If I just hit that mark, come in peeled and come in this and come in that, like it's there. And, you know, and I can tell you just straight up, I can tell you show after show after show where things fucked up, and 100% I take accountability, and it's me, you know, and, but we say it all the time. I know I say it all the time where, hey, this next show, it's, you know, it's going to be X, Y, Z. And all thing I can say at this point is just like, yeah, outside things do happen, you know, outside things do take place, but it's just one of those things of what I've learned. The key to success, you know, whether it's bodybuilding or whether it's your career or whatever the case is, it's just like, man, surround yourself with good people. That's all I can say. Just surround yourself with, you know, good people that just have good intentions, you know, and just, you know, obviously you want to see them succeed. And when you're around good people, you want to see them do great, and they want to see you do great. And it's like, if there's any gray area to that where you're unsure or uneasy or you don't know, whatever the case is, it's just like, man, I will just, you know, because I'm, you know, mentor to my nephew about this, like, if there's any doubt or uncertainty when it comes to your circle of people, they just get rid of it, you know, because it'll save yourself a lot of time, it'll save yourself a lot of headache, and save yourself a lot of misery, and it'll definitely, you know, be very good in regards to, you know, getting to that goal of where you want to get to as well too. So, you know, going into it this year with this prep, you know, I'm feeling good. I know I've got interviews before in regards to going into a prep, and I've, you know, said the same thing, probably sound like a recorder at this point with some of the stuff I've said in the past, but I'm just, you know, I at the end of the day, I hate being a talker, man. I hate just talking about something and not following through. And so at this point, it's just like, I'm going to talk less and just show more, especially going into the prep. Absolutely.
Wait for Texas. We'll see. But listen, I know your battery's going to die. So before you go, the main reason I want to get you on the podcast is not your deadlift, because I don't care about your deadlift. Not that I don't care. I care more about, I do care. It's actually very impressive. But it's the car shit. And I know people on the podcast know this about me. I'm a car freak.
Yep.
So this is your
the
S63 AMG.
Yep.
With 900 horsepower.
No, not yet. Shit, I wish. Not yet.
I'm reading this. However, the goal is to have 800. So what do you have here? Let me see. I think there's a better picture of it here somewhere. There it is.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you do for a living outside of bodybuilding, or is just bodybuilding, coaching, personal training? Like, what is it?
Yeah. So I have, I partnered up with a company years ago. And I was in the medical field for a while doing medical sales, and was awesome. Fortunate enough. Yeah. I was fortunate enough to,
No idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I was fortunate enough to, you know, be at the right place, right time to partner up with a medical imaging facility. So if any of you guys ever need anything in regards to MRIs or pain management or anything like that, we have a facility over there in Plano. Yeah. So come on down.
Next time I'm in Texas.
Absolutely. And as of right now, you know, I work with people one-on-one, and I've kind of do my one-on-one training where it's a lot more exclusive. So, you know, I do a minimum requirement when it comes to working with me one-on-one. And I'll be honest with you, I work with more of a executive clientele. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I work with anywhere from about 6 to 8 different people, and, you know, each client is required to pay, you know, anywhere from a 4 to 6 month minimum at, you know, X amount per session, and paid in full. Yeah. So it's kind of a consistent basis. And then I have my online business as well too, where I do virtual online training. Good. And that's even another thing, even with doing these lives and marketing, you know, when it comes to a lot of stuff, when it comes to social media these days, it's like, you don't even have to do or try. I'm not gonna say try, but these things that came so natural when it came to, let's say, my online business and a marketing perspective, like when that deadlift went viral, on SportsCenter and on TikTok and stuff like that, like it literally doubled my business. So
well, that's a nice thing about doing something crazy like that, is you don't have to sell yourself. People are like, hey, teach me how to do that, and there you go. It's kind of like how it works.
100%.
So, and I want to go back to the car real quick before we go on.
All right.
So when did you get this?
I got that. When did I get that? Was it this year? Thank you. You know what? I've enjoyed. I've wanted this car for a while now. So I got this, I want to say at the end of, what are we in, March right now? So I got this probably around like, I believe November or December of last year.
Do you get sick of cars quickly or no?
I do.
So how long are you going to have? You're like me. You're like, it sounds like you're a lot like me. How long are you going to have this car for?
Dude, it's crazy because I'm already like on the limbo of like, am I going to keep it? Am I going
to? I love it. That's hilarious. And this is what it looked like when you started?
Yeah, that's original. And I've actually put
it's amazing what a set of rims can do.
Yeah, but you know what? I put the original wheels back on there because I put the stock wheels back on there because those aftermarket wheels they're super heavy. They're weighing the car down. Yeah. And it just gave the ride a different ride, especially for this car, slow down smooth. And honestly, it slowed it down a lot too. So I was just like, let me put the original wheels back on there, and I took those aftermarket wheels off. So, but I remember the first time, I got the car, I took it to the shop, and put a tune on it, and these Mercedes, they're so easy to make power, and it's such a fun car, man. This thing is such a heavy boat, but it embarrasses the shit out of so many cars, and it's so damn funny. So it's like,
what's the 0 to 60 on that car? Is like 3.5 or something. Is it something stupid?
It's pretty quick, man. It even has like launch control on it. It even has launch control on it, and I put a tune on it. I put some downpipes on there. You can put methanol on this car, and it's very easy to get this car over 800. And honestly, the plans I have, if I keep it for long term, obviously I want to upgrade the turbos, put some bigger turbos on there, put the blow off valve on there. I want it to sound cool.
You're gonna do the same shit I do. You're gonna do all this shit to it, and then you're gonna be like, I'm done. Time to move on. What is this?
The same thing.
Well, you got this CTS here.
Yeah. Well, same thing with that car.
Is this your previous car?
That's my I did everything. So it's funny because I bought that car stock and I was supposed to leave it alone. And next thing I know, I'm putting pulleys on it. I put in bigger blower on there. I put a cam on there. Changed out the heads. I put methanol on it. I put an ice tank in there.
It's 1,000 horsepower. This car?
Yeah, on nitrous. Yeah, it made 1,000. I made 1,060 on nitrous, and on
blower. Did you ever take it to a quarter mile?
No, I always did it on the street, so I was just always just
I don't think you're supposed to say
what? It's funny because it's I had plans for that car because I remember I was racing that car. I was on the freeway and this Skyline pulled up next to me and he wanted to run. And so we took off, did like a 60 hit. I don't know what happened, but if I over revved it or whatever the case is, because you have the pedal shifters on there, so I could take it myself and manually shift it whenever I want to shift it.
Yeah.
But that car at that point, I think it was making like close to, I think it was like 750, 760 horsepower just on motor and blower only.
Yeah.
And I blew the motor, and I was on the freeway, and I blew the motor, and it just went into smoke, whatever. And pulled over.
You don't only lose the race, but you also get embarrassed because you're like, ah, fuck.
I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because it was like a car was on fire. It was like bad.
Oh, no.
And it's crazy. It was oil all over the freeway and the whole nine. I pulled over into this shopping center and then called a tow truck, called my buddy to come up there, and it's funny because when I blew it, I wasn't really mad. I was just kind of like laughing a little bit, and I was like, well, shit, I had already planned on putting a nuts motor in this thing anyway. So, and I remember it was like the tow truck hadn't even arrived yet, and I called my engine builder, and I was like, hey man, like I need a motor ASAP. And he was like, yeah, what happened? I said, dude, I just blew my motor. I'm like, do you have one ready? When can you get ready? And you're probably like this as well too. Like I'm super impatient. I hate waiting.
Oh my God. It's the most impulsive person on earth.
Dude, we were just like, I can already tell. So and I was like, he was like, well, I have one that's for your car. He's like, but it's a customer's. And I was like, it's customers. I said, dude, just can you call them and tell them like something happened and just let me buy that one and tell the customer like it's not going to be delayed. And he's like, fine, Joe, I'll do it. And
took somebody else's shit.
Yeah, sure enough, I picked the motor up the next day and took it to the shop. But when you obviously when you blow a motor, it creates so much destruction, and I had messed so much stuff up, and that car took forever to get ready. But we put the new motor in and added the nitrous to it and put an ice tank on there with methanol, and it just became a complete race car. It was so aggressive and so damn loud, and it
that's the nice thing about the Mercedes is you have all the power, but it's also comfortable as fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been looking at getting we're looking at M5s and M8s.
Yep.
I don't know. I kind of like I like muscle cars too. They ruined the GT 500 because they took the manual out of it.
Yep.
They ruined the Corvette because they took the manual out of it. But I'm waiting for the Z06 is what I really want.
Dude, I know you had the C7Z, didn't you?
Yeah, I had the C7 Z06.
I've actually been getting that itch to get a C7Z automatic and want to put a F1X on there and just do a C7Z if I get rid of this.
Why don't you get the C8Z?
I'm not a fan of them.
Really? Even the Z06, the Stingray, but the Z06 is nice. No,
they're nice, but for one day, I don't know if you'll fit. I don't know.
Well, I fit in the C7. It's probably the same size.
The C7 is way bigger.
Is it?
Yeah, that's C8. Brian, the one that owns.
But I'm downsizing though. I'm like I'm 260 now. I could fit probably.
No, you're still not gonna fit, man.
Look at this thing. That's a fucking beauty.
That is nice. But that's again. I mean, you say you like muscle, and this build on these because what are they? Are these V8 twin turbos on the C8 C8Zs?
No, it's supercharged.
Okay. See, I don't know, because even the C8s that are out right now, it's like obviously I'm not a fan of those too much.
Yeah.
I've seen my buddies have them. I've seen them do builds on them. I mean, those, because the C8s I haven't even done a lot of research in, but I believe the C8s, I know those are turbo cars, mid-engine and stuff like that.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Look into it here.
Yeah. Let me see.
Oh, I think it is. I think you're right, man. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Extreme Turbo Systems YouTube channel. The C8 question equipped with the shop's twin turbo kit.
Yep. So it's a
wait, this C8 might be different. Wait.
Supercharged. Okay, it's a V8. C06 twin turbo V8. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Natural aspirated.
So yeah. So that's gonna sound pretty rowdy. And yeah, I'm gonna have to see one, cammed out. I know you're like me as well too. Like if I get a car like that, I'm gonna have to put a cam on it, put a decent exhaust on it, of course, too, and start from there.
Wait a minute, I think we're both wrong. It's naturally aspirated, which is what I remember hearing actually.
Huh.
So there's no turbo or supercharged charger.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into this more then.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna have to look into it. All I know is it looks fucking awesome, and I want one.
I would tell you this though, because before I got this S63, I was thinking about doing that M8 as well too, the 2-door or the 4-door.
Yeah,
that is a sexy car, and it's a very quick car. And I would say this: since I have this S63, I have embarrassed so many cars. Like I had my buddy has a 700 horsepower Whipple Camaro, and we went on the freeway. And this S63 is a all-wheel drive as well too.
Yeah.
So, nice. And I won't give you detail by detail, but walked away from it. This is a 700 horsepower Whipple car.
Yeah,
I beat 5.0s all day long, SS Camaros. I think my greatest accomplishment was when I raced the new GT 500. I was coming home, it's late at night.
Yeah.
Pulls up next to me, orange, had dealer tags on it, Cobra, and starts jumping at me. I'm like, dude, what are you jumping at me for? Like, like nothing about this car shows that it's a race car, whatever. But he starts jumping on me. We have open freeway, and I downshift and I took off, and he took off as well too. And we were neck and neck until about 165, and about 170, he slowly starts kind of pulling away from me. But when you see that, it's just like bodybuilding. It's like, dude, you see the potential, and it's just like, dude, this car has so much potential. Like I just almost walked a Cobra in a 4-door AMG Mercedes. So if you decide to get that M8, I would say if you get it, dude, you're going to realize like the muscle and the Mercedes and the BMW, they're two different platforms, and it's super easy for them to make power with those things. All it takes is tune, downpipes. I'm not pretty sure about BMWs, but it's you can make some really good power really easy, really quick.
I almost bought a Audi RS7.
Yeah,
like 2 months ago. 2 months ago.
Yep, right.
I was in the shop and I was in the dealership and everything. I was just about to get it.
Yep.
And apparently somebody had bought it like the day before. So it was sitting there. It didn't have a sold sign on it yet. So I thought it was still there. But those two also, you can boost from like 600 to 800 like that with like nothing.
Absolutely.
But I learned my lesson. I had a Mustang. I had a Super Snake, like in 2012. And I learned my lesson from that, man. They did so much shit to it. I felt like it was just always in the shop.
Yeah.
That's why I bought the C7 Z06. I just wanted something fast that I didn't have to do nothing to.
Yep.
So,
do you still have the C7 right now?
No, I got rid of it. I'm driving a TRX and an Escalade right now. I got the new one. I'm probably going to trade the TRX for, I don't know what I'm going to trade. I want something for the summer. I want something kind of fun for the summer.
You're just like, we're just like, I'm like that too. It's like, it's getting hot. It's getting a nice summer. And, you know, it's no better feeling, man, than going to your garage and firing the car up and hearing that cam or hearing the exhaust and rolling the windows down, whether you're going up the street to get something to eat or whether you're going to dinner or whatever the case is. And it's beautiful outside, dude. It's a great feeling having that, you know, just behind you like that as far as it goes. So
I thought I would have the same feeling with the TRX because it's fast. Like I've blown away a bunch of fucking cars with the TRX.
Oh yeah, right.
And I'm like, I thought it would feel cool. I'm like 6,000-pound truck, fucking blows away sports cars. It's just not the same feeling. Like there's something about a sports car that fucking feels.
It is, man. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, to be honest, the desire that I really want, which I know that I'm definitely gonna have to downsize when I get to that point or whatever the case is. But I mean, I want something stupid fast in the future. And obviously,
what's stupid fast? If you had to say, like, if I had to pick one, what's stupid fast?
I'm talking about like, because I'm good friends with a guy, Cowboy Motorsports, who builds the Vipers and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Or there's a place out here that does the Lambos, stuff like that. That was performance, but it'll either be a twin turbo Lambo or twin turbo kind of thing, a Viper. The Viper with the wing. I don't know why the hell can I think about
ACR?
ACR, yeah, Viper ACR. But I'm talking about twin turbo, and that's, you know, it's going to be crazy. But I'm super power. There's a guy down here, his name is Will Dugas. He has one, probably the fastest Viper in the nation, I would say, or street Viper. His car makes over 3,000 horsepower, and that's why I want to move to Texas, man. You guys got all the cool shit down there. It's insane. Yeah, you know what? I'll send you his page. You'll see that car, and you'll just shake your head, man. It's literally. And I rode in my buddy's. It wasn't Will's car, but it was my other buddy's. Eric, who has a twin turbo Viper. Calvo built it, and that car makes like 2,800 horsepower. And we did a hit in that car. I don't even know how to explain. I don't even know what 2,800 horsepower feels like. Because it's like it must be like a jet. Like what the fuck? Absolutely stupid. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's literally like, if you put $1 on the dash and you try to grab it, like the G-force on that power is insane. It didn't freak me out because things were coming up so fast, and I was like hitting. I was like, dude, okay, like that's enough. Yeah. And I mean, obviously it's a completely different feeling probably driving it, but being in that passenger seat and feeling that power, man, it's fucking unheard of. You can't fit in that car because I remember I sat in it was just a Viper SRT. It wasn't an ACR. I think it was just like one of the stock ones or whatever. But I couldn't close the door. Oh yeah, trying to close it. Your battery's gonna die, eh? I'm at 6%. I was just making sure it didn't hang up. We've gone way over anyway. We're just blabbing about cars now, so it's kind of way off. Probably talking about cars for another hour. Listen, Joe, I appreciate you coming on, man. Is there anything you want to plug or promote or anything before we sign off for today? Yeah, obviously I want to give a shout out to Redcon, been with those guys, and you know, definitely give a shout out to guys over there at Destination, Michael, and you know, good team of guys over there. And like I said, we're getting ready for Texas Pro 900 deadlift's going to be coming up here in a couple of weeks. I'll be done with deadlifts after that, and then it's just full blown prep at that time. And you know, probably just like you, it's like actually I enjoy doing preps because it's more, you know, that tunnel vision and just you know, prep. You know, you see it all the time when it comes to prep, and it's like, oh, like, you know, I'm tired, I'm this and this. Like, I don't really have a prep to where I don't necessarily enjoy. I enjoy preps, you know, because at the end of the day, it's our decision. That's right. You know, and I do believe in that all the time in regards, like, you know, don't need to make other people around us or family or friends miserable because we're prepping. It should be something we enjoy. Yeah. And it is still a goal. It will continue to be a goal. You know, Lord says the same, of course, in regards to doing this competition, doing well, of course, and the goal is still the same right now to be a top contender at Olympia, and that's what we're going for. So not going to stop. That's awesome, man. Listen, I appreciate you coming on, and I always like learning about interesting people. So it was a good conversation. I had fun. Absolutely. Maybe we'll get you on as you get closer to the show. Yep. See how your prep's going. See how the everything's looking for Texas. Yep. We'll talk more then. It sounds great, man. I appreciate you having me on. Okay, brother. Thanks a lot for coming on. We'll talk soon. Thanks, brother. Talk to you soon. Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share with your friends, and like the video. And if you get a chance, check out the description for all the different links to all the different places you can find Hostile and myself,
And lastly, check out hostile.com for our new line of supplements and all of our apparel and gear. Thanks again for watching.